It is exactly 8:49 a.m. and we're now going to be talking with you, Orapeleng Matshediso. You are, of course, Research Associate at the University of Johannesburg, based at the Institute for Pan-African Thought and Conversation. A very good morning to you. Thank you for your patience. We are running a little late and I'll blame it on the weather. Thank you for joining us. And we are now looking at Djibouti's President Gwele winning his sixth straight term in office. We also understand that he, of course, being the longtime president, has claimed a landslide victory in the country's latest elections, ushering in his sixth consecutive term in the Horn of the African country. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the show and your thoughts on this sixth win for President Gwele.
Good morning, Julie, and viewers of Salam Media. I think first and foremost, what we need to understand and tell the world and the continent of Africa is that this president, Ismail Omar Guelleh, succeeded his uncle as a president in 1999, and he was handpicked by his uncle to become the president. It shows that he has not been somebody who respects the will of the people, and we are not certain that he was of course, the choice of the people of Djibouti. Now, it is important to indicate that since 1999, he has been the president, and in 2010, he had to, through the coalition of his political party called People's Rally for Progress and the coalition that they formed called Union for Presidential Majority. They have amended the constitution because it had a term limit. When they realized that the term limit was going to disadvantage him to stand for the election in 2016, they amended the constitution. Again, in 2025, in October, November, they again amended the constitution because the constitution was quite clear in terms of the age limit that you're not supposed to be the president beyond 75 years of age, and that shows that there is no clear democracy in Djibouti under his leadership, because human rights group and other political oppositions, they have of course indicated that under his administration there is no tolerance to political different views. There is suppression of journalism in the country. That is why the two major political parties since 2016, they have been boycotting elections. The major political parties being Union for Democratic Movement and Union for Democratic Change.
So clearly it seems that there was little or no competition, because we understand that it seems as if Gwele got a landslide victory and one of the opposition parties only seemed to have secured, that is, if they had in fact entered the elections, only 2% of the vote. Does that kind of suggest that there was some sort of vote rigging or just intimidation of the people to vote for Gwele?
It is possible that there might have been rigging of elections, because you would remember that in 2020 there was a major protest on the street by political parties and civil society calling for the overhaul review of the Electoral Commission, because they had no confidence in their Electoral Commission. Now, the question that must also come to us and the Africans is that these elections, out of the population of 1 million people in Djibouti, the registered voters were 256,000, who registered to vote. And according to the state-owned media, there was an 80% turnout, and the sitting president got 97, which it is almost similar percentage that he got in 2021. Now the question is, because there is no multimedia and journalist freedom in Djibouti, and these elections were announced by the state-owned media, the question comes, are they legitimate? Because of what happened in 2020, where the protesters, peaceful protesters, were dealt with by the security agency. And one of the call that they were making was that they called for release of the former air pilot who was arrested for exposing corruption and clan discrimination within government. So those are indicating that indeed there's a need for a review of the Electoral Commission, and of course the administration to allow for dissent within the particular state and the multi-party within the context of the Charter of African Union on democracy, elections, and governance. And it is important that maybe I must also bring this into the fore. We need also to look into this. Djibouti, strategically located within the next to the Red Sea, which it is within the what you call Suez Canal. That is one of the busiest shipping route that is actually used. Djibouti hosts military base of many African countries. Your United States, your Japan, China, they've got a very big base, including Italy, in Djibouti. And that on its own, it shows that there's a need for a review of how the military relate with the broader society and the relationship of the broader society with the state institution and the different interest groups within that. Because we might say, like the president in his campaign, the sitting president, Omar Gili, he was indicating that he must be re-elected because he has managed to make sure that there is stability in Djibouti, as opposed to what is happening in the neighboring countries such as Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Somalia. But the question might be, maybe people might be fearing these military bases that are around the country to can be able to have freedom to, of course, oppose the administration of Ismail Omar Gili.
Okay, in terms of the reference you made to the presence of European countries using the port in Djibouti, using the ports. Obviously, Djibouti is getting lots of revenue for these countries to have bases in Djibouti. Does those monies then actually go to upgrade and upkeep the infrastructure in Djibouti? Or is it a situation of the president just enriching himself? That's question number one. And question number two is, we also know that his sole opponent, Mohamed Farah Samatar, earned only 2.19% of the votes. Does he have any representation then at all? Does he have some sort of say in government by having clinched that small amount of votes?
Currently, as it stands, Mohamed Samatar of the opposition political party called Unified Democratic Center Party, that got 2%. Currently, as it stands, they do not even have a single seat because it is a breakaway party from the ruling party of the sitting president. Now, the other important issue is that, of course, 70% of the revenue of Djibouti is generated through housing of those military base and the using of the port, of course, charging those who are passing through the port to generate income. But that does not necessarily, according to the reports, translate into amelioration of the people's living conditions, because as it stands, you would ask yourself, Djibouti currently it owes China more than 1.2 billion US dollar, and according to the report of 2025 of the IMF, the Djibouti was not in good books in terms of servicing its debts, and the level of poverty and unemployment keeps on rising, but the port generates money. And it is, of course, been said or reported by some of those who oppose the administration or the establishment that Djibouti's got two major ethnic group, which is the Isa Somali, which has for since independence from France in 1977 has patronized and monopolized power in that particular country, oppressing, of course, the ethnic group called the Afar. And that on its own, it shows that, of course, President, his allies, they have been, of course, advancing their own personal interest through state and state institution without serving the broader community. But what is also mind-boggling is the fact that African Union was the first to release a congratulatory statement through the chairperson of African Union Commission, who is also from Djibouti. He should be knowing better that what is of the situation that is happening there. And he was supposed to have said, look, as African Union, we are not going to release congratulatory statement until we are satisfied that the elections, of course, they have satisfied us in terms of the charter, the African Union Charter on democracy, election and governance, because it's clear in terms of the multi-party system of governance, and it's clear in terms of the freedom of media, which the allegations that it is not happening there. I mean, for an example, the regional body, ICAT, which is called Intergovernmental Authority on Development, it has sent observers, and amongst those observers, it's South Sudan, Uganda, Kenya. But now the question that comes to mind is that South Sudan is unable to go for elections because of what is happening in South Sudan. Uganda, their elections, of course, got a cloud hanging over them, but you are saying this particular country must be the ones going to oversee on behalf of the regional body, they observe the processes of elections. In my view, the credibility of these observers, it's in question. They cannot be able to say this is not what is happening in line of the Charter of African Union on democracy, election and governance, because they are also countries that do not respect that particular charter, in my view.
And that's where we have to leave it. And all we've uncovered by way of this interview, very, very sadly, is there is widespread corruption, not only in Djibouti, but many or most African countries. And it is truly sad indeed. Wonderful talking to you. Thank you indeed for your insights. Till the next time, as always, God bless. It is exactly 3 after 9 o'clock right here on News and Views on Salam Media.